Joining us now, Corey Lewandowski, former campaign manager, Trump campaign, and I do my show in Washington, D.C., right in his house. So obviously we're friends, and that's the Corey Lewandowski Embassy. Got a book out, Let Trump Be Trump. Go to Amazon, buy it, don't be shy. Got a new book coming out. It's going to be a blockbuster of all blockbusters. That's coming out in November, called Trump, the Enemies from Within. Look for that. We'll be keeping you up to date on that. And he's joining us now with 63 days to go. Corey Lewandowski, great to have you with us.
Hey, thanks for having me, John. Happy 9 weeks until Election Day, in case the countdown wasn't on. 9
days. So, look, all the blue wave stuff I've heard two senior Democrats tell me 30 seats are going to determine the outcome. What say you?
You know, John, I can tell you from the Republican Party side, we've looked at about 50 congressional districts across the country. Some are in better shape than others. A number of the reasons that we're looking at some of these districts is strictly because of the retirement of incumbent members of Congress on the Republican side. If they would have stayed in office, those seats would have stayed in Republican hands. But because of those retirements, we're looking at about 50 seats overall. I think of those 50, some are much safer than most people think. And so that number 30 is right about where we are. I think I'm probably at about 35, to be honest.
Okay, so you got about 35 seats in play. Everybody, except me, predicting the Democrats are going to win control of the House based on history, based on Democratic motivation, retirements. The left obviously jazz. Look, I mean, a simple thing like Steve Bannon, think of him what you will, was going to headline, be interviewed, right? Just have on stage in an interview by the editor of the New Yorker magazine. Everybody on the left went bananas and they canceled him. So obviously the left is just going crazy over everything. I mean, I never thought I'd see the day where you have an event and you have a speaker and they just throw him out. And this isn't a college campus. This is just a public event. Crazy.
Well, John, it's free speech unless it's not the speech you want to hear. That's how the left is. That's how they've always been. We want our right to tell you any propaganda that we want to say, but when it's your chance to come and speak, we'll boycott you. We'll put buildings on fire. We'll blow cars up, right, because we don't want to listen to it. And now the New Yorker has said, hey, we're going to rethink. Not only first they extended the invitation, then they rescinded it. Now they're rethinking about bringing Steve back on. And if you look at what they said in that New Yorker invitation, what they said New York Magazine invitation was, we're going to be confrontational with Steve. We're going to hold him to a different standard than everybody else, because that's what the left always does. If you're not with them on their issues, they disparage you, they're degrading to you, they're demeaning to you, because they don't actually want to have a political discussion. What they want to do is impart their politics on you, regardless of what the facts say. But look, John, the reason Republicans still have a chance to win in November is because they have Nancy Pelosi as their opponent on the other side. They have Democrats who want to get rid of ICE. They have Democrats who are supporting MS-13 and illegal immigrants continuing to come into the country and killing Americans. That's what the Democratic Party is running on for the midterm elections, and those are not the values of our country.
I don't think it is either. But look, they really don't have a policy other than what you said. I mean, I asked one of the Democrats, Abigail Spanberger, running in Virginia, I had on the other day. I said, well, what is the Democratic economic agenda? Is it to get, do you think you can get to 5% GDP instead of 4.5%? You think you can get to 2.9 unemployment instead of 3.9? Do you think you can get wages up over the 3% they've been rising? I mean, what is your agenda? And they really don't have one.
Well, they don't have an agenda because this party, the Democratic Party, is so bicoastal now, right? They only care about the limousine liberals in New York and Boston and in San Francisco and California, and they've given up on the middle part of the country because for every historical measurement, by any account, John, we are better off today than we were 2 years ago when Donald Trump took office, whether it's your 401k, whether it's stock market, whether it's unemployment rates for African Americans, for Hispanics, for women, for young people. All of those are at record lows. Whether it is the right track, wrong track of the country, people now see more economic security, more homeland security, and more military security. Those are the things the president promised. In addition to that, for the first time in a generation, We have a president who's willing to renegotiate multilateral deals that the U.S. has been on the short end of, to say, let's do a bilateral deal so that we can be successful. And I don't care who you are. It doesn't matter if you live in Topeka, Kansas, or Omaha, Nebraska. You want good trade deals for the United States because that means more economic opportunity for you. And that's why, come November, there will not be a blue wave.
Well, I don't think so either. And, you know, when you talk to Democrats that are in the know, you don't get the same types of unbridled optimism that you get in the Washington Post and on ABC News. And that poll they came out with today that said that I think the Democrat generic ballot is up by 14. I mean, I just don't believe it. I have to be honest with you. I think it's probably 5 or 6. I don't know how they get these numbers, but look, you and I went through the same thing in the Trump campaign in 2016. They manipulate the numbers, and they do it for a reason. They do it to depress Trump voters in the midterms, and they're basically saying, it doesn't matter. You already lost. Stay home. Right?
There is a potential sense of apathy out there. I did a lot of traveling in the last 2 weeks. I've been in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and in South Carolina, and I've been all over the country traveling. And while the Republicans are turning out, I think there's a little bit of apathy, and we have to make sure that those people who supported Donald Trump 2 years ago are showing up, because if they show up, we win in states like North Dakota and Montana and Missouri and in Florida, and we expand the Republican majority in the U.S. Senate so that it's not 51-49, or right now it's 50-49 with the McCain vacancy, which is going to be filled in the next 48 hours. But it becomes 53, 54, 55, 45. Now you've got an agenda that you can stand behind with the Trump agenda, and that's getting things done. So Republicans have to show up, because the Senate map right now is so good for Republicans. There are 10 incumbent Democrats running in states where Donald Trump won. And you look at West Virginia, you look at Indiana, places where, I was with the president in Indiana on Thursday night of last week. There were 12,000 people packed to the rafters in that arena. He set a record in August of, a non-election year for him. He put more people in an arena than had ever been in that arena in the history of the complex. That's what Donald Trump brings, but those people have to come out and show up and vote.
No question about it. I want to get to Corey Lewandowski with us. Corey, I want to get to a couple of Trump's tweets. The president tweeting out yesterday 2 long-running Obama-era investigations of 2 very popular Republican congressmen. I assume he's talking about Chris Collins in Buffalo and Hunter Duncan in San Diego. That's my assumption. Were brought to a well-publicized charge just ahead of the midterms by Jeff Sessions' Justice Department. 2 easy wins now in doubt because there's not enough time. Good job, Jeff, ... Another dig on Sessions. Should he just fire this guy or what, Corey?
Look, John, I'll tell you this. I know Jeff Sessions. He was an early supporter of then-candidate Trump. But I think by and large, the American people have been disappointed when it comes to Senator Sessions for not ending the Mueller investigation, for extracting himself from that recusal without ever telling the president he was going to do that, to having Rod Rosenstein in charge. Look, I like the work Jeff Sessions is doing as it comes to cracking down on MS-13 gang members and sending the men and women of ICE in there to rid us of those animals who are killing young children, who are going in and raping young girls. We saw it just this last weekend again, right? So I'm happy with that. But by and large, look, I don't think anybody is above the law. And if Chris Collins and Duncan Hunter violated the rules, they're going to be held accountable. But if this was the Obama administration, John, I don't recall, other than Menendez, right, being prosecuted for crimes while in office. It's amazing the 2 different ways that the Justice Department had been run, one under the Loretta Lynch and Eric Holder administration, and a separate one under this administration. And the difference is this time, where Republicans are in charge, we haven't seen one prosecution from the Clinton campaign, because we know they broke the law. We haven't seen one prosecution from the Department of Justice, even, or the FBI, who we know Andrew McCabe under oath. It's in the IG report on at least 3 separate occasions, and this Justice Department hasn't gone after him. So I question why that hasn't happened, and I think ultimately that falls on Jeff Sessions.
Would you recommend to the president that he fire him or wait until after the midterms?
No, look, as you know, like we said, John, we're 9 weeks from the elections. The Democrats would use this as a political tool to say that the president is trying to obstruct justice, which we know is absolutely not true. And I think what you will see in the natural course of after a midterm election, you will see change in the administration, and not just at the cabinet. I think you'll see people from inside the White House leave, and candidly, I think that's a good and necessary thing. And I think you'll see new blood brought in, people who are focused and helping the president focus his political efforts on his reelection effort for 2020, and people who are more in line with the philosophy, which I wrote the book about, which is let Trump be Trump. Too many people have tried to manage him. He has been too successful doing this almost by himself. If he had a team that came in to help him, both in the Justice Department, and I mean in the legal sense, but also in the White House after the midterms, you're going to see this president even be more successful than he's been in the first 19 months in office.
Are we going to see one of the new people in there? Or are we going to see Corey Lewandowski in that White House?
You know, John, I love what I do. You know I do. And I'm very blessed to be able to travel with the president, talk to him on a regular basis. And I have said to him, you know, if there is something that you need me to do, I will answer that call. But I can tell you, John, you know, the sacrifice going in that building is immense. It is a very high turnover operation because the hours are just so intense. Look, I'm not afraid of hard work, but I also think I provide a special value by being on the outside and being able to come on your radio show and others and say things that if I'm in the government, I can't say. I can do things outside of the government that I can't do if I was inside the government. So I do think there is value for me and others like me being the outside person to help this administration be successful.
Yeah, plus my Washington, D.C. radio studio is in your house. So we it's staying there, right? No matter what happens. Even if you go in, it's I still stay at your house, Corey. So thank you for that. The governor of Arizona has to name a replacement for John McCain, R.I.P., bless his soul. Do you have a prediction?
You know, I'm told through the grapevine that the decision by Governor Ducey has been made, and he has notified the White House of that decision. I have not spoken to anyone in the building about that, but look, there are some great candidates from Arizona. What I would say, and I think Governor Ducey knows this, is selecting somebody who is going to be on the Trump-Pence agenda. And that means supporting Justice Kavanaugh. It means supporting tax cuts. It means, if we had to, supporting a bill that would get rid of the individual mandate on health care. Don't pick a person who campaigns one way and then ultimately, votes a different way. So I think what the governor is going to do, he's going to name that person. My guess is today or tomorrow. That person is going to come to Washington, be sworn in prior to the vote on Justice Kavanaugh for the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm. As you said, it's going to be within the next 2 days, right? Probably we're going to know by Friday.
I think that's right. Yep.
Okay, let's go over these Senate races. I've got 2 minutes, so we got to go rapid fire. Montana, Rosendale, John Tester.
Rosendale's up in the public polls. He's moving in the right direction. Trump, the president's going out there, I think, tomorrow, right, to help in that race.
Yep.
That's going to go to the Republican side.
In Missouri, Josh Hawley and Air Claire.
Very, very competitive race. Claire McCaskill is a tough competitor. But, again, momentum is tracking for Josh's side. He's now raising a lot of money. He has a dead even chance of winning that race.
Florida, Rick Scott versus incumbent former astronaut Bill Nelson.
Rick Scott wins that by 6 points.
I agree so far with your first three. North Dakota, Kevin Kramer and Heidi Heitkamp, the incumbent.
Kramer is a statewide office holder, just like she is. The difference is he supports the Trump agenda. She didn't. And the voters in that state are going to reward Kramer with a promotion to the U.S. Senate.
Kramer wins. West Virginia, tough one. Patrick Morrissey, AG, versus Uncle Joe Manchin.
Look, I think it's a race that many people think Morrissey is going to win. But I can tell you, I've been to West Virginia many times. The president was just there. Joe Manchin is a tough campaigner. He's an icon in West Virginia. I still give him the advantage in that race as we sit here today.
Morrissey wins. Indiana, Mike Braun, Joe Donnelly. You were just there.
Mike Braun wins that race. I was with the president of Indiana on Thursday of last week. The crowds were intense, and Sleepy Joe loses, so that's a Braun pickup.
New Jersey, Robert Huggin, I think, versus Bob Menendez.
The sleeper race of the country right now. Menendez is in real trouble. Let's see if the Democrats keep him on the ballot. Those days to pull him off are almost over. If he stays on the ballot, that's a 1 or 2 point race either way.
All right, Menendez wins. Nevada, Dean Heller versus Jackie Rosen. The Democrats telling me that Heller's a dead duck.
No, I don't believe it. Look, I've been to Nevada many times. I support Dean Heller for his race. It is probably the most difficult Senate race for an incumbent in the country to hold. But Dean is he's a hard worker. He's working hard. And I think he has a real chance to hold that seat. Don't kid yourself.
All right, final one. The Democrats also looking for a pickup in Arizona. Now that primary's over, I think the Republican wins.
Look, McSally won that primary handily. She won 49% in the three-way race against two very well-known individuals. That state is a tough state, always has been for Republicans. She's got 9 weeks to prove herself. We have to make sure Arpaio and Ward are supporting her for that race. The president is going out there very soon to help her campaign, and his endorsement will matter. But right now, it is a coin flip out in Arizona. Yeah,
toss-up, agreed. Any shot the Republicans have in Michigan?
Look, I love our candidate. James is a African-American Apache helicopter pilot. He has a chance to win there. It's a harder race for us because it's so expensive. But if anybody can do it, he is the future of the Republican Party.
All right. If we add these up, I've got the Republicans picking up 6 seats in the U.S. Senate. That's a lot of seats, man. That's what I'm predicting. Corey, we're out of time. I want to thank you for this. Corey Lewandowski. Read his book, Let Trump Beat Trump. Let Trump Beat Trump. Go to Amazon, B. Dalton, your favorite bookstore, anywhere. Let Trump Beat Trump. And he's got a new book coming out, which is going to be really hot, which is called Trump, the Enemies from Within. He's going to be naming names. The party's over at Corey's house.